Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all keeping well and welcome to my Football Manager Mobile 2018 exclusive feature announcement video. Now thank you to the guys over at SI for allowing me to be part of this. Obviously it's a game that I play a lot and it was, amazing to be asked to be part of this. So obviously I'm not announcing any of the big features, so please don't comment down below going, oh, is that it, is that it? No, they're obviously announcing the big features, so be sure to be following them over on Twitter, because I believe that's where all of the information is dropping very, very soon. The links will be in the description, guys, but you come here to see the feature announcement, so let's get into this. Team reports. So I'm going to be going through these screens in a little bit of a higgledy-piggledy motion, but we're going to go through each one of these and have a little look at what kind of we're seeing in front of us, and then have a look kind of how that's going to be impacting the game. Now the club stat screen, not the prettiest of screens, but obviously gives us quite a lot of information. Now these are ones that you could potentially use as little challenges throughout the season, or maybe challenges that you pit against your friends as well. For example, you could have that squad average age one. You could be saying, you can't go above 25. You've got the really nice one, the one that I like most on here is domestic player base. So you could basically say to each other that if you're, you've got to keep throughout the whole season, your domestic player base has got to be 85%, for example. But again, it's got some information on there. It'll be nice to kind of just keep up to date with that one. It's not, groundbreaking by any stretch of imagination, but I just think it's a really nice kind of screen to have. And it's just gone to that little bit step further, to adding a little bit more depth into the game, which is what we've all been calling for, well, the past few years, really. Suggested 11. So this basically does what it says right there. It's suggesting you your best 11. Now, please be mindful that I believe this is nothing to do with actual performance or form. This is purely the highest rated player you've got in that position. So it's basically going to show you who your strongest goalkeeper is. Again, not based on form, not based on anything like that. It's just basically who is your highest rated current ability goalkeeper in this position. And it'll just go through each one. Obviously at the moment I've chosen a 4-2-3-1 formation, but obviously as you alter your formation throughout the season, it's worth just checking back on this one just to make sure that potentially you're not playing a weakened player. But obviously that can, as I said, it's just a guideline really, because you might have a player who's in form who isn't your strongest player but is playing well. But it's just worth keeping your eye on that screen. And again, it's just another nice feature to have, really, just adding that little bit more depth to the game. Let's move on to one of my favourite screens, the squad depth screen. Now, as you can see from the screen in front of you, I've picked the midfield central role here. Now you can see it's a deeper shade of green. The reason for this is, as you can see, I've got 3 players who are all 3-star current ability players who can play in the position, meaning I've got good depth into that position. You then see that the defensive midfield role is in a red. This means that although that player may be a very high class player, he might be a 5-star current ability player, it just means that I've got no depth in that position. If that player gets injured or suspended, it just means I've got nothing in reserve. So it's worth obviously looking at this at the start of the season and throughout the season to pinpoint any transfer targets that you may have to obviously put on your shortlist, keep an eye out for, because you don't want to be going into a long season with cup matches and all this kind of things with only one player who can play in that position. He may be an outstanding player, but if you get injuries, as I said, or suspensions, it's just going to cause a knock-on effect. You're going to have to be playing poor players there. It may cost you the game, it may cost you a cup, it may cost you the championship. So as I said, for me, it's a really good screen to have. It adds loads more kind of information to the game, and it's just really worth just keep checking on this throughout the season to make sure that you've got a good depth. You basically want all greens. You just want that screen full of greens. You don't want any reds. I mean, the kind of lighter green isn't the, it's not the best. It means you've got a little bit of depth in there, but really, if you can get that screen all green, it means that you're all good. But obviously, then the flip side of that is obviously you've got to keep all them players happy. You might have a good pool of players in your squad, great depth. And obviously it's just making sure you keep all of them players happy, which where it comes down to you showing off your management skills. Last but by no means least is the team summary screen. Now obviously I mentioned at the start of the video that these are all higgledy-piggledy, kind of in my, I suppose, in the way that I like the screens the most, so kind of going from the one that was, nice and everything to now to this one, which I think is absolutely vital and just adds, again, another step of depth to this game. So as you can see, you've got your positives on your left hand side, your negatives on the right hand side, and it's just about trying to get down them negatives as much as you can and obviously moving them over to the positive sides, or just basically neutralising them all together. And as you can see from Wimbledon's here, you've got things like, you can do with an injection of pace. Now that's quite a, you might think that's quite an easy one. Look on the transfer market, set your abilities to pace at 15 as the lowest, and pick somebody up on a free. It's not as easy as that. You can't just have one pacey player in your squad. It's just, you need pace in different aspects of the actual club as well. It's not just one position will just fix it. But it's good to just check out this throughout the season, because these do vary as you kind of you might be getting some of these negatives away from here, but then you might get new ones as well. You might bring in a bunch of players you think, okay, that's going to cover this, that's going to cover that, especially when it comes to depth. But then you might have brought in quite a lot of aging players, so then you might have a pace still going to be an issue potentially, because most aging players aren't the fastest, although Cristiano Ronaldo is still pretty fast, isn't he? But then obviously you might have an aging team, which means in a few years time you're going to have no you're going to have a team full of players which are coming to the end of their career. The stats, their attributes are on decline, and you've got no kind of youth prospects coming through. And then within one season your squad depth has gone completely, and loads of negatives go back up again. So it's really about keeping the balance in this one as well. Obviously you want as many positives as you can, working through the negatives, but just make sure you're checking back on this screen, because it's the one that kind of will, you might think, oh, I'll look at it at the start of each season, I'll tick off a few things and then that's it. But then you might, not come back, and then all of a sudden you've got a load of new negatives that you haven't noticed for ages, and it's nothing you've worked on, you've not got any plans in place, and it might have a knock-on effect throughout the whole of the season. Right guys, well that pretty much does it for today's video. As I mentioned at the start, a massive thank you to the guys over at SI, Mark Duffy, Mark Vaughan, all the guys over at Football Manager Mobile who have allowed me to be part of this feature announcement. As I said, this is one very, very small new feature that they've allowed me to kind of talk to you guys about today. They've got some huge things to announce over in the next few days. So as I mentioned, the link to their Twitter is, I'm sure you probably follow it already, but if not, please be sure to go and follow that, because I think that's where they're announcing all of the new features. And yes, there's some really, really exciting things in the pipeworks for Football Manager Mobile as well, so please be sure to go and check it out. Let me know your thoughts on obviously on team reports. Do you think you'll use it a lot? Are you kind of, is it something you will use? Is it something that you're just a bit like meh about? Myself personally, I think it's going to be adding a lot more depth to my game. From a content creation point of view, it's really, really good as well. It just gives me loads more screens to show you and kind of update you throughout the save with as well. So I'm really, really excited to obviously get cracking into a save and obviously getting these screens up and running. But if there is any suggestions of features you would like to see in Football Manager Mobile, please don't hesitate to drop them down in the comment section. I'm sure the guys over at SI will be watching my video carefully and monitoring all them comments and taking them all on board. They probably won't, but whoever knows. But yeah guys, if you've enjoyed this one, don't forget to show your support by dropping a like on the video. I've been Just M1ke Plays, and I'll speak to you legends soon.